All right, so picture this. You're finally ready to buy a house or maybe a new car, maybe even just, a decent apartment, and you're excited, right?
Right.
But then you hit this wall, a mysterious force, a 3-digit number,
Hmm.
your credit score.
Right.
We all know it's important, but sometimes I think, I don't know about you, but I feel like it's a little
Yeah.
it's a little mysterious.
Absolutely. It's a mystery to a lot of people.
Yeah. And so that's what we're going to deep dive into today.
Yeah.
Like, what is a credit score? What makes it go up? What makes it go down? And how can we use this information to really take control of our financial futures?
Right.
So, to kick things off, can we just kind of demystify it a little? Like,
Sure.
what is a credit score?
Okay. So a credit score is really, you can think of it like a financial GPA.
Oh, okay.
It's a 3-digit number, usually ranges from 300 to 850. And it's really just a snapshot of your credit worthiness. It tells lenders at a quick glance how likely you are to repay borrowed money.
So it's like a report card, kind of?
Exactly. Oh,
Okay. All right. I can see that. A report card for how responsible we are with money.
right.
But what exactly goes into this report card?
Okay, so your credit score is actually calculated based on 5 key factors,
Okay.
and they're not all weighted equally. The first one, and the most important one by far, is your payment history.
Okay. Payment history. So that's like,
This one counts for about 35% of your score,
wow. Okay.
so it's really important.
So that's basically, are we paying our bills on time?
Exactly. Are you consistently paying your bills on time? Things like credit card bills, loan payments, utilities, that kind of thing. Because, lenders, they want to see that you're reliable, that they can trust you to repay the money that you borrow.
Makes sense. So if you're consistently late or missing payments,
Yeah, that's going to really hurt your score.
that's a big red flag.
Yeah, and late payments can stay on your credit report for up to 7 years.
Yeah.
So it's really important to make sure you're staying on top of your bills.
Yeah, 7 years is a long time. Okay, so payment history, big one. What's next?
The second most important factor is your credit utilization.
Okay, credit. What was it?
Utilization.
Utilization. Okay, I'm not.
This counts for about 30% of your score.
Okay.
And it basically refers to how much of your available credit you're actually using.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you have a credit card with a $10,000 limit and you've got a balance of $3,000, your credit utilization ratio is 30%.
Okay.
Now, a good rule of thumb is to keep your credit utilization below 30% on all your credit accounts.
Okay. So
Because if you're maxing out your credit cards or you're close to it,
yeah.
it can signal to lenders that you might be overextended.
Right. Right. And they might think, oh, this person's, living beyond their means or, not really good at managing their money.
Exactly, yeah. They're a little risky.
Risky. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So payment history, credit utilization, what else?
All right, the next factor is the length of your credit history.
Okay.
And this accounts for about 15% of your score. So the longer you've been using credit responsibly, the better, because it shows lenders that you have a track record of managing your finances over time.
So does that mean that my oldest credit card
Yes,
is like a good thing?
it's actually a really good thing to keep open,
Really? Oh,
even if you're not using it,
interesting.
because it contributes to the length of your credit history.
Yeah.
Closing that account can actually shorten your credit history and potentially lower your score.
Okay, counterintuitive, but I'm following you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got payment history, credit utilization, length of credit history. What's next on the list?
The fourth factor is your credit mix.
Okay, credit mix.
And this one only accounts for about 10% of your score, so it's not as impactful as the first 3. But it basically refers to the different types of credit accounts that you have. Like, do you have credit cards? Do you have installment loans, like a car loan or a student loan? Do you have a mortgage?
Okay.
Having a mix of different types of credit can show lenders that you can manage different types of debt responsibly.
So it's like the more variety you have, the better.
To a certain extent, yeah. But again, it's not as important as those first 3 factors.
Okay, got it. So don't stress too much about the mix as long as you've got, the basics covered.
Right.
Okay, so it's covered 4. What's the 5th and final factor?
The 5th factor is new credit.
Okay.
And this accounts for about 10% of your score as well. And this one refers to how often you're applying for new credit.
Okay.
Now, every time you apply for a new credit card or a loan, it generates what's called a hard inquiry on your credit report. And too many hard inquiries in a short period of time can actually lower your score.
Oh, really? So it makes you look like you're kind of like desperate for credit or something?
Exactly, yeah. It can be a red flag for lenders because it might suggest that you're having financial difficulties or that you're taking on more debt than you can handle.
So it's not that we should like never apply for credit, but just,
Be mindful of it.
be smart about it.
Yeah. If you need a new credit card or loan, shop around and compare offers, but try to do it within a short period of time, like within a 2-week period, so that all those inquiries are kind of grouped together.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like it shows that you're doing your research, you're being responsible about it.
Right.
Okay, so that was a lot of information. We've got 5 key factors: payment history, credit utilization, length of credit history, credit mix, and new credit.
Exactly.
And it sounds like, if you're already doing pretty well with your finances, like you're paying your bills on time, you're not maxing out your credit cards, you've got a decent mix of credit, then your score's probably looking pretty good. But what about those of us who are just starting out? Maybe we're young adults. We haven't had a chance to build much credit yet.
Yeah.
What are some tips for building credit from scratch?
Okay, so building credit from scratch can seem a little daunting, but it's totally doable.
Okay.
The key is to start small and be responsible. One of the best ways to start is with a secured credit card.
Okay, a secured credit card. So how is that different from a regular credit card?
So with a secured credit card, you actually put down a security deposit,
Okay.
which typically becomes your credit limit. So let's say you put down a $500 deposit.
Okay.
You'll get a credit card with a $500 limit.
Yeah.
And then you use the card like you would a regular credit card, make purchases, pay your bill on time,
Yeah.
and the lender reports your payment activity to the credit bureaus.
Okay.
And this helps you establish a positive payment history, which is, remember, the most important factor in your credit score.
Right. So it's kind of like you're showing the lender that you can be trusted with, a small amount of credit.
Exactly.
Okay, so secured credit cards, good starting point. What are some other options?
Another option is to become an authorized user on someone else's credit card.
Okay.
So this is where you're basically added to someone else's account,
Okay.
usually a family member or a close friend who has good credit,
Right.
and then their credit history becomes part of your credit report.
Wow.
So if they have a long history of on-time payments and low credit utilization, it can really boost your score.
Okay.
But it's important to choose that person wisely.
Yeah.
Because if they have a history of late payments or high credit utilization, it could actually hurt your score.
Right. So it's like choosing a roommate.
Exactly. You want to make sure you choose a responsible credit roommate.
That's a great analogy.
Mhm.
Okay, so secured credit cards, authorized user, anything else?
Another option is a credit builder loan.
Okay, a credit builder loan? I've never heard of that.
So these are small loans that are specifically designed to help people establish or improve their credit. Basically how it works is you borrow a small amount of money, usually between like $500 to $1,000, and instead of receiving the money up front, it's actually deposited into a savings account.
Oh, okay.
And then you make monthly payments on the loan over a set period of time, typically 6 to 24 months.
Okay,
And these payments are reported to the credit bureau, so it helps you build a positive payment history.
got it.
And then once you've repaid the loan in full, you get access to the money that you borrowed.
Oh, so you get the money and you build your credit.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got some good strategies for building credit from scratch. But what about for those of us who, already have credit, but maybe our scores aren't where we want them to be? What are some tips for boosting our credit score?
Okay, so if you're looking to boost your credit score, there are a few key things you can do. The first and most important is to pay down your credit card debt.
Okay.
Remember, credit utilization is a big factor in your score.
Right.
So the lower your balances, the better. Okay. If you're carrying a lot of credit card debt, focus on paying down those balances as quickly as possible. Even small reductions in your balances can make a big difference in your score.
Okay, so even if we can't, pay off everything at once, just chipping away at it is
Yeah, any progress is good progress.
helpful. Okay. What else can we do?
Another important step is to avoid applying for new credit unless you absolutely need it.
Okay.
Remember, every time you apply for a new credit card or loan, it generates a hard inquiry on your credit report.
Right.
And too many hard inquiries can lower your score.
Okay.
So only apply for credit when you truly need it.
So no applying for every store credit card just to get a discount.
Right. Resist the temptation.
Got it. Okay, so pay down debt, avoid new credit. Anything else?
And of course, continue to make all of your payments on time.
Right.
That's really the foundation of a good credit score.
Yeah, that's the most important thing, right?
Absolutely. Set up payment reminders, automate payments, whatever you need to do to make sure you're never late.
Okay, that's all great advice. Now, let's talk about the flip side for a minute.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest mistakes people make that can actually hurt their credit scores?
Okay, so one of the biggest mistakes is missing payments.
Okay.
Even one missed payment can have a significant impact on your score.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because it shows lenders that you're not reliable.
Okay.
Another big mistake is maxing out your credit cards.
Oh,
Even if you're paying your balance in full every month,
right.
a high credit utilization ratio can be a red flag for lenders.
Right, we talked about that. So it's not just about paying it off, it's also about...
It's about how much of your available credit you're using at any given time.
Okay, got it. What else?
And another mistake that people often make is closing old credit card accounts.
Okay.
We talked about this before, but it's worth repeating. Closing an old account can actually shorten your credit history and potentially lower your score.
Yeah, because it makes you look like you've been using credit for a shorter period of time. Okay, so those are definitely some traps to avoid. Well, it sounds like we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about what a credit score is, the factors that influence it, how to build credit from scratch, how to boost your score, and even some mistakes to avoid.
Right.
Before we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to add? Any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
I think the most important thing to remember is that your credit score is just a number. It's not a reflection of your worth as a person.
Right.
It's simply a tool that you can use to achieve your financial goals.
Yeah.
So don't get too caught up in the number itself. Focus on building good financial habits, make your payments on time, keep your balances low, and use credit responsibly. And over time, your score will take care of itself.
I love that. It's not about the number. It's about using that number to unlock the things you want in life.
Exactly.
Like buying a house or a car or, even just having peace of mind, knowing that your finances are in order. So, to our listeners, as you continue on your financial journeys, remember, knowledge is power. You are in control. And with the right tools and the right mindset, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Of course, it was my pleasure.